amongst all the noise, and there was a lot of noise, Celtic had a football game to play last night and they beat Falkirk 4-0 with new interim manager Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney taking charge for the first time. To help me cut through it all and get the ins and outs of another interesting day on and off the park for Celtic is Asim Rabani. Asim, good to have you here. Your thoughts on last night?
Yeah, Tino, good to be back on. Yeah, it's just good to leave Celtic Park on a much more positive note, which obviously hasn't been the case of late. The feeling just as I was leaving the ground, everyone was in good spirits, and I think the Martin O'Neill factor was there for all to see. Just you and I were at the press conference the other day. He's full of charm, isn't he, Martin? And he was in good spirits. And then even just listening to his press conference after the game yesterday, I think he's just brought such a kind of light-hearted. And look, we're not in a light-hearted situation. We're in a very serious situation, but things have been so heavy and so intense these last few weeks, and they will continue to be so off the pitch. We'll probably touch on the protests later and stuff, but in terms of just the on-pitch stuff, I felt there was a bit of relief yesterday, and that showed in our performance. And I think that's what Martin's brought. So, for all there was probably doubts about him coming back, I just feel it's what's needed right now. Everyone loves Martin. And I think even the players will probably want to really impress him. And it was just an enjoyable occasion last night. Again, look, not going to get carried away, Tino, by any stretch. We beat Falkirk already this season under Brendan Rodgers. And that was probably one of our better performances in the League Cup. So I think the opposition was ideal for us yesterday, but still there felt like there was a bit of the shackles came off.
Yeah, I've got to agree with all of that, and I think, call it cute, calculated, clever, however you want to describe the move. Bringing Martin O'Neill in, it's borderline stroke of genius, because I don't think there's another man that walks the planet that could galvanise the Celtic support. I include Henrik Larsson in this, than Martin O'Neill. He's such a universally loved figure. And actually, and we'll get into the finer detail of the football in a moment, but actually the pairing of him and Sean Maloney, I think it could be quite effective. I know it's only a temporary measure. I'm not calling for it to be a permanent thing. But in the interim, I think it's as smart a move as Celtic could have made. Martin O'Neill will take the lead. He'll do the press stuff, which he does brilliantly. Sean Maloney will very much be the on-the-ground tactician, data analytics kind of guy. And I think it could be a good blend for the next few games. And as we know, there's big games coming up. So we can't, of course, not discuss the off-field stuff. It continues to rage around us at this moment in time. And last night at 7 o'clock, there was a protest organised by Celtic Fans Collective outside the main doors at Celtic Park. I think I wasn't there. I arrived just on kick-off. I think you were similar. But I think from what I've seen, a couple of boys, Paddy and Miff from the show were there. Various other folks I've spoke to, it seems there was a number in the thousands as opposed to hundreds there. And I'm sure you've seen some of the footage. What's your take on it and the ongoing temperature amongst the group?
Yeah, I think it's important for it to carry on. I think we can separate the two things. We're all going to be back in the team, obviously, and backing Martin to the hilt. But as much as, and you're right, call it a luck or a stroke of genius or whatever, but I think that's what Dermot and the board were hoping, that bringing Martin in will take the heat off the other stuff. And no, that's not going to be the case. Martin O'Neill will come in. We all love him. We're all going to be obviously fully behind him. But the shambles that's been going on, in terms of the board, the hierarchy, the running of the club, the communication or lack of, the statement, the shambles that was, everything, that's not going to get buried under the carpet just because Martin O'Neill's back in town. So the the protest last night, I missed it as well in terms of just arrived before kickoff. So seen some of the footage, and as you say, the numbers were vast. This was the first of its kind. Obviously, this season we've seen all the various other kinds of protests, which some more effective than others. But I think this was good, and I think the fact that Desmond was there in attendance last night as well, it's good that they know that this isn't going away anytime soon.
Yeah, and it's been covered here on our show and in various other places in terms of just the wider picture of things at this moment in time. The statement by Dermot Desmond on Monday night, whether you agree with the statement or not, is almost irrelevant. It's the nature of how it was put out. It just highlights the dysfunctional nature of how Celtic work at this moment in time. 34.7% shareholder sees fit to go above everybody's heads and make that kind of announcement. And as we heard from Martin in person at the press conference, it's Dermot that picks up the phone to him, not the CEO, not the CFO, not the chairman, Dermot Desmond. Anyway, separate chat for separate times. Let's focus now on the football, because there's lots to focus on. Martin O'Neill was always going to get a rapturous applause and welcome back to Celtic Park. You seen him, he looked quite taken by it. You know, I seen the footage after I went home, and he looked quite emotional to an extent. But then it was time to get down to business, and he's made some changes to his team. Least of all, his back four, Asim. 3 changes to the back four. Tony Ralston come back in. Austin Trusty replaced Dane Murray as expected. And Marcello Sirachi came in at left back. And particularly Sirachi, but actually the back four in general, dealt with the whole night pretty well, didn't they?
Yeah. It's the 3 changes I would have made. I think the 3 changes that a lot of the fans probably would have called for as well.
That's the end of the preview on this final whistle show from Celtic Exchange, but the full episode's available right now over on Patreon, where you can also enjoy a whole range of additional shows throughout the week, including our pre-match previews, special episodes and the daily podcast which we record every weekday morning. As a member, you'll also get access to our exclusive chat community and a host of other benefits, all for just £5 a month. And you can be enjoying it all in just a couple of minutes by joining us at patreon.com/Celtic Exchange, where you can join the growing community of Celtic fans who now enjoy more from Celtic Exchange each and every week. So that's patreon.com/Celtic Exchange, or simply click the link in the show notes for this episode.